Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicole, and in today's video we are talking about the holidays. So everything is pretty much decorated and done. We have some major holidays coming up later this week. You've got family coming over, friends, whoever it is. You're looking around and you're thinking, something's just not quite right. I'm on the right path, but it could be a little bit better. So today we're looking at some zero cost ways to just elevate your style a little bit more to get you that look that you're really looking for. So we're not looking to add anything else to your cost. So these should be things that you already have around your house. Maybe it's just some little tweaks, tips, tricks, other things that you can do to really bring in that style. If that sounds good to you, keep on watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let's get going. So again, Christmas is right around the corner. If that is the holiday you celebrate, and if you are hosting for that holiday, I totally understand the pressure to feel like your house is put together and beautiful and welcoming and just really putting your best self forward. So what can you do if everything is pretty much set, but you're just looking to tweak a couple things? First thing we're going to do, and I know I've said this before in a couple of videos, we have to declutter. You have to make sure that your space is looking clean and it is looking organized. That is one of the easiest and, again, zero cost ways to really bring your style to the next level. Clutter is always going to read as a little bit cheaper and just not that high-end look that you're going for. So I know that we all go a little bit crazy with cleaning up before guests do come over, but just re-emphasizing. That is everything from, make your bed first thing in the morning. I know as a kid, you're always like, why do I have to make my bed? Nobody's coming in my bedroom. But it sets the tone, it sets the stage, it puts you in that mindset to make sure that things are put together, neat and tidy. Find a great spot for all of your cords. We bring out a lot of cords, our poor electricity bills. But the holidays mean lights, they mean your Christmas tree, they mean lights here, there, everywhere. You want to make sure that you are doing your best to hide those cords, whether that is just stuffing them, inside the wreath. Maybe that is making sure they're going under a tree skirt or whatever it is that you are wrapping at the base of your tree. You might have to get a little bit creative with, zip ties, command hooks, all of that, just to make sure, again, as streamlined as possible. Cords are just another thing. They never look good. They never read elevated and elegant. So the best you can do to hide those cords is only going to help. While you're decorating, you might need to move a couple things around. So one of the biggest things in decor is called the rule of 3. Basically, that means that things grouped in 3 in particular, but basically odd numbers, tends to be more visually pleasing to the eye. It adds a little bit of visual interest if you have that group of 3 and you give your eyes different places to go. It's not overcrowding, but it gives you, again, a chance to vary some height, vary some texture, vary a couple of different colors or whatever it is that you have out. And it just helps to make sure that your kind of vignette that you're creating is cohesive and interesting. Now, this rule of 3 does not necessarily need to be 3 things and 3 things only. So we're already getting a little subjective here. But if you have, say, a stack of books, you can count those as 3 separate items, or you can kind of group those together and cheat a little bit, count those as 1, and then you stack, your candle on top. Maybe you have one of those, really cute wooden stools, and your candle, wick trimmer, and snuff set are 1 item. You have a plant there. There are a couple different ways to get to this rule of 3. Whatever you kind of naturally gravitate towards as a set, as something that can be an item of 1, you can definitely get away with here. Now, this is going to work for, little decor items. If you are making sure that, your console table, your dining room table, your countertop, any of that has some decor on it, absolutely use that set of 3. This is also going to work for, say, the pillows on your couch. This can work for something like the artwork on your wall. This is the items on your shelves. This is your light fixtures. It works in so many different layers and levels. Now, again, we're looking at zero cost here, so this is probably going to be a little bit more about tweaking your decor as is, or again, adding or taking away a pillow here or there. But it might also just take a little bit of rearranging of, say, your artwork, something else that if you're looking at it and it is almost there, we are so close, but it's just not quite right, and you don't know how to put your finger on what the issue is. It might just be that it's not as visually pleasing because it's not in that odd number. Now, like I've said before, if you have done something intentionally and it doesn't follow this rule, that's fine. Your house is yours. You have to make sure you are the person who's living there. It has to work for you. It has to make you happy. So if you have that even number and that is what you wanted and that was your intent, keep it. It's already perfect. This is more for if you know that it's not as good as it could be and you don't know for sure why, it might be worth a look. And hey, sometimes even numbers are the way to go. Again, you are the person who you need to impress here, so make sure it is what you love. Another thing you can do here is kind of mix those finishes and those textures. A lot of time we find something that we gravitate towards and we just go all in on that. For me, it tends to be matte black. I have been a huge fan of that and I've really doubled down on getting things that go with that style. So a lot of what I have is a little bit more neutral toned and again, having those kind of pops of black. That being said, I've also been a little bit more drawn towards that kind of antiqued brass look, so starting to pull that in. Winter is also a great time to start looking at, some of those browns, which is not a color that I typically gravitate towards, but it is a very warm, cozy color. You can bring it in a texture with a great throw blanket, with a pillow. There are just so many different ways to bring in a little bit of warmth, a little bit of that seasonality through your items around your home. So mixing in that knit pillow with that kind of faux fur blanket with whatever the color of your season looks like can start to bring in a couple of different ways to really make things look a little bit more interesting. I know that most people are a little bit more accepting in decor of kind of mixing metals. I know that's kind of some people get a little bit anxious about that. You can absolutely mix metals, but that goes with a bunch of different things too. Mix up your textures, mix up your patterns. It's something that you can do. We just want to make sure we're also doing that effectively. Talked a little bit about this with the pillows and the throws. You want to make things cozy. Cozy is welcoming, it is inviting. It is probably at least a little bit colder than usual, even if you live in a warmer environment and you're at least in winter on the northern hemisphere, it is at least a little bit cooler, if not outright cold. You want to make sure that you are really getting that cozy factor down. Bring out those decorative pillows and those blankets. Make sure that you're draping one over the arm of a chair or your sofa. Make sure that they're available to your guests. Maybe it's in a great basket. Maybe it's visible through another piece of storage that you have. Again, layering those pillows using that kind of not only the rule of 3, but also the different textures. These are all going to really play into bringing in that warmth. We tend to like a bit of an outdoorsy feel indoors during the holidays as well. You already have your beautiful tree. So now we're also looking at, a fire. If you do have a fireplace, get the fireplace lit. Maybe that is real wood, maybe it's a gas fireplace, maybe it's electric, whatever you have, that flickering of a flame is going to be very beautiful. And if you don't, put the flame on your TV. There are so many different places where you can get a fireplace to project onto your TV. And I know I always thought it was a little bit weird at first, a couple years ago, but there's just something about the flickering of the flame, the crackling of a fire that just puts people at ease. Now, whether your fireplace is real or not, you can also have a little bit of a display for firewood. If you have one of these firewood keepers, you can absolutely do it there. If you don't, you can use a pretty decorative basket. There are a couple different ways to just make sure that, again, it's reading cozy, it's reading warm, it's reading welcoming. A fire has always read, in the past as a place to get warm, to get together, to kind of stay a little bit. Maybe it was around food, maybe it's just around that warmth and shelter. But there's a reason that kind of deep in our bones, a fire is just always welcoming. Now, while you have that fireplace or whatever type of flame that is going, you want to turn some of those overhead lights off. So we've talked a little bit about lighting in the past. That harsh overhead lighting is not going to be the most welcoming. It's very bright, it's very light, it has a purpose, but it's not going to be as, cozy as it could. So you have your fireplace on, you have your overhead lights. If you have a dimmer, I would say dim them. If you don't, you might be able to get away with turning them off completely. You'll have your tree going, any other lighted objects around, and use your lamps. This is something I've been so guilty of in the past. 1, not having enough lamps, or any, it's been bad. Or 2, not using them because it's so much easier to just flip the lights on in the morning and you're kind of done. Now what that doesn't do is kind of lend to that ambiance. Now hopefully you have a couple different lamps in different places and you're able to create this huge mood that is just your guests will absolutely love. But what you can do is you could bring in lamps from other places in your home if they're not going to be venturing, say upstairs. Bring some of those downstairs for now. Make sure that you have enough so that everybody really gets that vibe. Now, as we were just talking about, maybe moving some things from upstairs to downstairs, or if you need to hide a couple things for that clutter from tip number 1, maybe they're moving from downstairs to upstairs. You can also move around the furniture that you typically have in, say, your living room. So a lot of times when we decorate for the holidays, we do have to move a couple things around, but I think that people don't take as much advantage of that as they can. Now, just because that chair or that table lives there usually, if you do have to move it to get, say, your tree in with all the presents around, maybe it doesn't need to be there at all. You might want to move that out of the room entirely. Or if you have a lot of people coming in, maybe you need to add some seating. Don't be afraid to play around with how your room is typically laid out. If you can, again, bring the furniture off the wall, make a nice intimate setting where everybody can see each other, sit down, relax, and have a conversation where you can actually hear each other. Again, if everything's pushed up against the wall, it can be a little bit difficult. Plus, if you have, everybody there, everybody's talking, it can get a little bit loud. So bringing that in a little bit more is really going to help. Rearrange the furniture, take out what you don't need, bring in what you do. Again, play with it, have some fun. This isn't your everyday situation, so make it work for what it is you're trying to do. You're always going to be able to move that back later, to switch things up, but you don't have to be kind of stuck in how your home usually looks. You also don't want a guest, say, sitting in your tree or having your tree kind of drape over part of your couch and making it a little bit uncomfortable. So just move what you need to. Again, you can always move it back later. And as we're talking about kind of moving things around, you kind of want to think about your color palette as well. Now, again, we're talking zero cost here. So some of these things you might not want to buy a whole new set to make sure it fits in your decor style. Ideally, your holiday selections fit with what you already have. But say you are very coastal in your decor style, but you want a very traditional red and green Christmas, those can really compete for each other, and it looks like you've just stuck your holiday decor in a place where it doesn't quite fit or doesn't quite belong. So I'll stick with coastal for this. If you have those reds and greens everywhere, maybe we want to start taking out some of that blue, again, just for the holidays. So maybe that's in a vase, maybe it's in some other decor, maybe you have very seashell heavy decor, but that's not how you decorate your tree. Again, move that around for now. It does not need to be out just because it's usually out. And then moving forward, maybe when you can spend a little bit more time, energy, and money, unfortunately, everything costs money, then you can start to make sure that your holiday decor really works with your home decor. That will make everything much more seamless and cause a little bit less headaches along the way. But for now, match up what you can take out what you don't need. Also, that's going to help with that clutter. So not only is that going to clean up a little bit, but if you're also kind of paring down that color palette, it'll just read a little bit more clean. Minimalism is definitely in and kind of here to stay. Doesn't mean you can never do maximalism. I am not saying that at all. That really works for some people. But you always want to make sure that when you go to that kind of more is more mentality, that it's still cohesive. And if your home decor and your holiday decor are completely different, it can just read a little bit messy if they're competing with each other for attention. So anything you can clear out that's excess, that doesn't quite go, is only going to help. These last 2 points can make the world of difference if you don't do anything else besides clean up your clutter. That one is very important. These 2 are going to be great. That is going to be scent and that is going to be music. Having that real ambiance is going to just completely change the feel of your space. So maybe you have that real Christmas tree and that smell of pine or whatever type of tree you have is going through your home, and that's great. That is a perfect way to start off, but you also want to make sure it is throughout your home. So maybe it is through candles. Maybe you want to, make some homemade potpourri on your stove. Maybe it's baking cookies or just, putting some vanilla extract in the oven for a little bit. A little bit of a shortcut to that really good smell. Maybe it's with diffusers, but having that scent going through the air, making sure that as soon as your guest walks in, that is one of the first things we do. And it sounds a little weird, but it's true. When you walk in somewhere, the scent is something that immediately hits you. And you want to make sure it's something that is welcoming, that is inviting, that is fresh and clean, and just says holidays. Music is another thing. Now, it does not need to be super loud. I think that really soft background ambient music is just something that puts people in that mood, that spirit. So maybe it's coming through your TV. I think a lot of the fireplace, if you don't have your own fireplace and you are using, you know, whatever it is on YouTube that's playing the fireplace on your TV, I think a lot of those do have Christmas music coming through. But having a speaker, having a radio, maybe it's playing on your phone somewhere, kind of out of the way. But anything that kind of bring in that cheer is going to just really set the tone, set the stage. So again, your guest walks in, they're going to take a breath, they're going to smell the scents of the home. That music's going to automatically be playing as well. You've got that fireplace going, it's going to be beautiful. And those last 2 points of scent and music have nothing to do with your decor, but also everything. It really just helps bring it all together. So I do hope this helps you realize that, you know, if you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed, again, you're hosting, it's already so much pressure. You don't have to spend more money. Again, the holidays are already expensive on their own as is, to really get your home to feel the way you want it to. It can just be a couple tweaks here or there, or again, maybe it's just lighting a candle and putting the radio on. These are things that can really help just elevate your space, make you feel like everything's more put together, which helps you relax. I know that hosting is very stressful, and anything that can kind of unwind is only going to be helpful. So I'm wishing you and your family a very Merry Christmas, very happy holidays, whatever it is that you celebrate. Keep your loved ones close. I do hope this helped. Again, go ahead, like and subscribe if you'd like to stick around. Other than that, I can't wait to see you in the next one. Until next time, bye.